All right, so we are learning Siman Hilchos Bishul, and we were learning yesterday about the halachas of liquefying a solid, and if that is considered, the Gemara definitely says it's forbidden, right? Once you're not allowed to squeeze ice or snow. But the question is, if 25 in the Alter Rebbe. Question is it only forbidden to actually squeeze the ice, or is it forbidden to put it in a place that's going to melt on its own?
Buddha said squeeze the ice.
Yeah.
How can you squeeze the ice?
Squeeze it till it becomes liquid, till it becomes water.
But if you have a ruin and hurt and you put it here,
no, that's okay.
It's okay.
When squeezing it to make water, not squeezing it that the water gets.
Okay.
You actually not you melting with the heat, like your hands.
Yeah, the hands.
The pressure. Yeah.
If you want to do my machronim with that like this, you're not allowed.
That's correct. That's correct. Now, we said that most Rishonim hold that it's only forbidden to actively do it. And the Sefer Truma is strict. It says, no, you can't even do it. You can't even cause it to happen by putting it in a warm place. Not only that, but he even says that it's also b'diavad if you do it. So, two reasons, by the way, that it should be also b'diavad. I only gave you one reason yesterday. Today I'm going to give you another reason, because this is the reason the Alter Rebbe brings, so you should know it. The reason the Sefer Truma says is because it's called noilad. We said yesterday that when you create something new on Shabbos,
Noilad.
He's coming? He went down the hall? No, call him.
Okay, come back. He's come back. Do mitzvah.
He's not on the chat. He's not on the chat. He doesn't have WhatsApp. Okay. So the point is that moilid is when you create something new. And we said that's a malacha d'Rabbanan because it's similar to all of the malachas. And as a side point, I will mention that the Achronim suggest that this is, or I should say some of the Achronim suggest, that this is the reason why electricity is asur. Because electricity is not really fire. And the Chazon Ish says it's like building, it's a big chiddush. What's the problem to use electricity? Besides, of course, that electricity itself could be used to cook, or to wash, or to cut, or to heat, or any of those other malachas. But I'm saying the electricity itself, if you don't use it for a malacha per se, what's the problem? So there are some achronim that say that it's moilid. It's moilid. It's like creating something new. The current is something new. So even though it's not any particular malacha, but it's forbidden under that general category of moilid.
If it's no so problem, it's still a problem for Shabbat, yes. Why would the goy we machne for that? It's
electricity?
Almost they give to the Jew to do that. Here you go.
Who almost gave to the Jew?
He said it's electric, it's not a melacha.
No,
if you do melacha for that.
I didn't almost give it. I didn't come close to giving it. I said it's asur 100%. I said according to most, it's not asur mid'oraisa. It's only asur mid'Rabbanan. That's all. But you can't tell a goy to do an issa d'Rabbanan. unless there's a good reason.
Or something.
Exactly. Mitzvah, loss, great need, stop. But otherwise you shouldn't. Okay, so that was the reason why it's forbidden to do it in the first place. Sefer Truma goes ahead and says that it's forbidden b'di'evad because of moilid. Sorry, noilad. Noilad is a isur muktzah, which is when something new is created on Shabbos, that cannot be used on Shabbos because it's muktzah. What's an example of noilad? An egg. Egg, yeah. An egg that's born is something new. No, fruit that falls it's not new, but it's also for a different reason. Because if you could eat it, then you may pick it. A chick that's born is noilad. So for example, on Yom Tov, you wouldn't be allowed to shecht a freshly born chick and eat it. Shabbos, you couldn't shecht it anyway. Yes?
The light is no light, it's there.
Light is not noilad.
The light, the electric is there. Just, it's no
Light is not noilad.
No light, right?
No. I'm talking about something new that's created on Shabbos. Noilad is something new that's created on Shabbos and it's muktzah. I'm not talking about moilid, which is the isser to create something new, which is why you're not allowed to use electricity. By the way, when you use an electric light, if it's an incandescent light bulb, which is harder and harder to find these days, but if it is, that is an actual fire because it's light and heat. So that's an isser d'oraisa. I'm not talking about using electricity as in turning it on. I'm talking about the isser of muktzah of noilad, of something that has been created. You didn't do an isser in creating it, right? You own chicks and they lay eggs and the eggs hatch. You didn't do anything wrong. But the new egg is noilad and the new chick is noilad. And for example, whatever, there's different examples.
That's for the whole Yom Tov or just that day?
Just that day.
So the next day, you can check it.
Next day of Yom Tov, yeah, and second day of Yom Tov, yeah. Okay, so that's the Sefer Truma. That's what we mentioned yesterday. Now I'm going to tell you the Ran's reason why it should be also b'di'evad. The Ran says that when you liquefy a solid that is usually consumed as a liquid. So for example, the gravy of chicken, the fat, usually people don't like eating like a glob of fat. Ew, it's not good. When you warm it up, machaya. So the Shuman in the main sanctuary, social hall, in the Shuman is expected to become liquid, similar, listen carefully, similar to fruit that are expected to be squeezed and made into liquid. Wine, for example, you expect to squeeze the grapes and make it into wine. You expect to squeeze the olives and make it into olive oil. So if you would be, and by the way, even if the grapes get squeezed on their own from the pressure, there's a big vat of grapes, and on the bottom, because of the pressure, there's some grape juice, can't drink it. Because if you'd be allowed to drink it, you might squeeze it. Same thing with olives, and same thing with other fruits that are designated for squeezing.
After Shabbat, you're allowed to drink it?
Yeah.
Also, if you did the melacha?
If you did the melacha, it depends, but mezid, rishogeg, like we learned. But I'm talking about if it just on its own happened. So the point is that here, this liquefied fat is similar to the juice that drips out of fruit that are expected to be squeezed. And therefore they are included in the prohibition of mashkin shazal. Just like the liquids that come out of the fruit are forbidden because you may squeeze the fruit, so too the liquefied fat is forbidden because you may squeeze the fruit. What does fat have to do with fruit? Well, they're both solids that are expected to become liquids. So it's included under that general prohibition. That's the opinion of the Ran. Okay, so now we're going to learn the Alter Rebbe on this discussion, who paskins pretty much like the Ramah that we learned yesterday, that in the first place, we should be strict like the Sefer HaTruma, and not take fat and leave it in a place that it's going to liquefy, in a warm place, opposite the fireplace, in the sun, or whatever. But the B'diavad, you could benefit from it like the other Rishonim. Because the Ramah said, even though the minhag is to be machmer, but in a case of need, you can be mekel. So B'diavad is not less than that. All right, my friends. Excuse me. Here we go. Siman Shin Hilchos, Seif Chafei. When do we say you're allowed to heat up something baked, like a challah? You can heat up opposite the fireplace, like we said in the past. Only if it has no fat. But a meat pie, which he calls a paskafula, a folded bread, so it's like a bareka folded over, which inside of it has congealed fat. Aser lahachem oisa. The class is in the social hall, or Wolf's class in the social hall. In the social hall. Yeah. Also, you're not allowed to heat it up. Even if it's far from the fire. Where it's not too hot to touch. It's even forbidden to put it in the sun. Now we know when it comes to cooking in the sun, it's no problem at all. But here, it's not about cooking. It's about liquefying. Because the fat that's in it, that has congealed, is going to liquefy. It is like squeezing a piece of hail in order that the water should drip. The Chachamim forbade it because he's creating on Shabbos. But then it's like a malacha who's creating this water. Like will be explained there, within the Shuman Hanimah, the same thing applies to liquefying fat. In this Siman, we do not discuss crushing ice or hail, because that's discussed in Siman Shin Chaf. We have to leave something for there. However, we're saying just like over there we see you're not allowed to crush ice, similarly here you're not allowed to crush or otherwise liquefy fat. Afilu b'diavad, even b'diavad, also mashin yamayach b'Shabbos. What liquefies on Shabbos is forbidden. Kemoi mashkin shezavu b'Shabbos, like liquids that that drip on Shabbos, be peiros oimdim lemashkin, from fruit that are designated for liquids, she'asum that are forbidden mishum gzer shem yischad hapeiros, because you may squeeze the fruit. This is the reason that the Ran gives. The Alter Rebbe does not mention noiled. He just gives the reason of the Ran. that this, because it's expected for that, which like it says there. I'm just going to read, then I'll explain. Even this fat, because it is normal for it to be runny and clear, meaning to say to be a liquid. The fikach, therefore, when it is congealed, it is like fruit that is expected to become liquid. And what drips from it on Shabbos is forbidden until the evening. Okay, so just like fruit that is supposed to be squeezed, the juice that collects on the bottom of a vat of such fruit is forbidden, because since it's supposed to be squeezed, if you drink the fruit, the liquid, you may end up squeezing more. So too, this fat is expected to become liquid. So it's like the fruit that's expected to become juice. And if you would eat it, what might you do? If you eat the liquefied fat, what might you do? It's not a rhetorical question. If you eat the liquefied fat, what might you do?
Yeah, what's the question? So,
the Rebbe says that the congealed fat is similar to fruit. Just like the fruit, you're going to squeeze and make it into juice, whatever the juice that it's supposed to be. So too, the fat, you expect to eat it when it's liquid. Yeah, it's already cooked, but you're going to melt it. You're going to heat it up. Before you eat your steak and your chicken with gravy, you're going to heat it up. So it's going to become liquid. So therefore, the Chachamim forbade you to eat this liquefied fat on Shabbos, because if you were to eat that liquefied fat, that might lead to eating. What's wrong? Oh, heating it up. What's wrong with heating it up? It's already cooked. In bishul achar bishul. Squeezing what?
fruit.
Oh, thank you very much. Squeezing fruit. I just wanted to make sure that you wouldn't say squeezing the fat. They didn't say don't eat the liquefied fat because you might liquefy the fat. Because liquefying the fat is only the Rabbanan. They're not going to say, you know what I mean, don't eat it because you may liquefy. The point is that since the fat compared to the liquid is comparable to the fruit compared to the juice, so therefore it's included in that prohibition. If you would eat that, you may eat fruit also that is expected to be squeezed.
So the fat in and of itself isn't the problem. It's what it may lead you to do.
Well, it's included in the decree against eating the juice of fruit is included in that decree.
Is there anything else that would be included in there? So from fat into the fruit?
Yeah, actually, ice that melts and become water. Because ice is also expected to be drunk as water. Mm-hmm. So when it melts, it's similar to the juice of the fruit. This is all according to the strict opinion that holds it's usher even to benefit, when it liquefies. Not the lenient opinion we're going to see later, but this is the strict opinion.
The fat, if you was separate and you wanted to eat just the fat, even before it gets liquefied, you're allowed to eat it.
Absolutely. Dig in.
Seems to be ice.
Same with ice. You can eat the ice. You can crunch on the ice. Okay, so now before we continue, I'm going to tell you a little chiddush that I read today, quoted in the name of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Shlomo Zalman says, since the whole reason for the strictness here is because the normal way to consume the fat is with liquefying it. If you have a dish that is normally consumed as a solid, For example, picha, right? People like to eat the jellied stuff of cow's foot. Don't ask me why, but they like it. So such a thing, says Ibn Zalman, there's no problem to liquefy it. Or even, I don't know about liquefying it actually. I don't know about liquefying it, but if it liquefies, you can have it for sure. Why? Because that's not a normal thing. In other words, it's only comparable to the fruit that becomes liquid if it's normal to consume it when it's liquid. So then it's like the fruit that you normally squeeze. You understand? But if it's something that's normally consumed as a solid, you can't compare it to that. So it's not going to be included in the decree. What if you're gonna liquefy, if you're gonna eat this liquid, you're gonna squeeze the fruit. This is not like the fruit juice. This is an unwanted liquid. You understand? So it's not going to lead to squeezing wanted fruit. The squeezing fruit for wanted liquid. Understand? The whole comparison is because this is a solid that is supposed to become a liquid, it's similar to fruit that is supposed to be squeezed. If it's a solid that's not going to become a liquid, then it doesn't apply. I think he even says you're allowed to liquefy. Not with your hands. I'm saying you're allowed to put it in a warm place or whatever. It's not included in the decree because it's not similar to.
So because that item is eaten as a solid and you want to eat it as a solid, that's not an issue then.
Exactly.
Even if it's not, you're not going to liquefy it.
No, but even if you do,
but even if you do, that's
because it's not similar to the fruit which are squeezed to become liquid, so it's therefore not included in the decree against doing this. And the truth is, you could say, well, it's still moiled because you're still creating something.
But that's incidental.
No, you are creating something. Let's say you want to liquefy this. You right now want to liquefy. It's not normally done, but you want to. Shlomo says you're allowed to, because it's not similar to squeezing fruit. But I'm saying, why is it not moiled? Why is it not like creating? So I didn't see this in his logic, but it could be that it's simply not an important accomplishment. You understand? Because nobody drinks this liquid, it's not a normal thing to drink, so it's not like you really created something significant. Similar, by the way, here's a chiddush, which we're going to learn in Siman Shin Chaf, sometime before we finish this Shabbos course. We're going to learn that you're allowed to squeeze certain fruits, according to the main halacha, to get their liquids. Fruits that are not normally squeezed to make juice, you're allowed to squeeze and make juice out of them. So, for example, nowadays they juice almost everything. Very hard to find something that you don't juice.
Yeah, but that's more not on Shabbos that they juice anything. It's the electrical.
Of course, I'm talking about the fact that they do it during the week.
Right.
Means that juice is significant. But if you find a fruit that is not juiced, no, any examples?
Banana. Banana's more of a vegetable.
Banana, they do it. No, even vegetables, same thing. Sorry?
They don't have juice?
That they don't make juice out of it. And nowadays, they don't make juice out of it.
Like an esrog, maybe.
Esrog? Well, they use it in mashka.
Yeah.
They don't make juice out of it per se. An onion, that's true.
Well, there's onion juice.
Onion juice?
Yeah.
Really?
But you don't drink it, it's not.
Yeah.
Never heard of onion juice. Yeah, vegetables. There are vegetables that are like that for sure. Cucumbers. Even that, cucumbers now. Lettuce. Avocado. Avocado. Okay, whatever it is.
But do they give examples in the Shulchan Aruch?
Yes.
Which fruits?
Yes.
And which ones do they give?
I think they say tusim and remoinim, berries and pomegranates.
Which of course nowadays
we do, but that was in those days. Anyway, let me just look that up and make sure I'm not telling you the wrong example. No, sorry. Those are things that people would juice in those days. He actually doesn't give examples of things that they don't juice. Those two are the examples of things that they do juice. These things, the ones he just says, the ones that people don't juice, he doesn't give examples. Okay, so the question is, how does this opinion, which is the main halacha, but there is another opinion later there that disagrees, but let's just discuss that opinion. How does that opinion say you're allowed to juice, let's say, avocados? You're allowed to juice avocados, not with electrical equipment or anything, but you're allowed to juice avocados on Shabbos for whatever strange reason you have. Like in the shuk in Israel, my wife always quotes the guy shouting, when they're selling fruit that is not really good for serving because it's all bruised and banged up, they say lib bishul for cooking. You know what I mean? So she once heard them announcing avocado lib bishul. Cook avocado for cooking. Anyway, you want to juice avocados on Shabbos, lakasha, according to this opinion. But what about moilid? You're creating something new. So what do you have to say? You have to say the pshat is that juice is not significant. It's not important. So it's not, you didn't really create anything because it's something that's like garbage almost. So similar to this thing which Shlomo Zalman will say about pcha or other things that are normally consumed as a solid, it's not going to be also to make it into a liquid. Okay, with no further ado, we continue. Did we finish Chafei? I think we did. Whatever flows from it on Shabbos is forbidden until the evening. All right, Chavav 26. When do we say this? Kishinimoyach shuman harbe kolkach, when so much of the fat liquefied, until it dripped outside. Shin Yudches. Shin Yutet. Shin Yudches. Chavav. And it is visible on its own. It's not mixed into anything. Rather, it is recognizable on its own. Now, let's say you have this meat pie with the shuman inside of it, the fat inside of it, congealed fat. But you don't put it so close to the fire that it really liquefies so much that it comes flowing out. You put it further back, it liquefies some of it, and that gets absorbed in the breading of the pie. That's okay. That's allowed even in the first place. In Siman Shinchaf, we're going to see that the Gemara says that you're not allowed to squeeze the hail or the ice, but you're allowed to put it into a cup. And even though there's a machlokes, you can put it into an empty cup, but into a full cup, you're for sure allowed to put it into. Why? Why is that not moilid? Because what you are creating is never visible as a separate entity. It right away becomes part of the rest of the liquid there. So therefore, it is not considered like you created something new, because what you created is never a separate, a visibly separate entity. Be'en is the word. It's not be'en. Somebody asked on the WhatsApp chat this morning, it was Yossi, let's see, flavored ice cube. In this case, you definitely want liquid and putting ice cubes. Do more concentrated drinking kind of for the water on the ice cubes. Okay, so I wrote no problem. Because there, the fact is it's not going to become a separate, distinct entity. Even though you want it, and it's noticeable, but it's never a separate entity. But I saw a further chiddush that Rabbi Farkash brings down. What about ice cubes that are going to be dyeing the water? So it's kind of noticeable, right? It's a certain color. It's going to dye the water. Maybe that's forbidden. He says that even that's permissible because you never, even though it changes the whole water, but it doesn't actually, there's never a, you never see it separate, you understand? It melts straight into it. So even though you see its effect, but you never see it as a separate blob. You understand? It's always melting into the bigger liquid. So therefore, it's not forbidden. Even if some of it drips to the outside a little bit, and it is visible there, because it's a small amount, it's not important. Just like we said yesterday, you're allowed to break the ice to get into the mikvah in Russia or Ukraine or whatever other country you're in, which is a machlokes, by the way, if you're allowed to break the ice that is connected to the ground, as most ice would be if you're trying to break into a mikvah. Presumably it's over a lake, river, even a mikvah that's in a pool is going to be connected to the ground.
In Florida, it's no problem, no ice in the lake.
Florida,
to ice it.
no, never seen it in Florida. But the point is that some say it's not allowed because it's connected to the ground. So it's like destroying something connected to the ground. Others say no, because it's going to melt. It's not really connected. Whatever, machlokes. Bottom line is, but beside that issue, whenever you break ice, there's going to be some drops of water that form from the heat and the friction when you break it. That's okay. I'm going to say later, because that's not significant. When we say you can't create something, we mean something significant. Just like we said, the avocado water is not significant, avocado juice. And like we said, type of liquid that is not normal to consume it it's not an accomplishment. So the same thing, a small amount, which is not important, is not a problem. So let's say you want to heat up a steak on Shabbos morning. You're going to do it in a permissible way. You're not going to do it in a way that looks like cooking. You're not going to do it in a way that might lead to stoking the coals. Everything is kosher and yosher, right? But there are some little pieces of gravy on it, and the gravy is going to liquefy. But because it's a small amount, it's not important. Now, as if you take a tray of meat out of the fridge and you melt it Oh, so there's a pool of liquid that's going to form from that gravy. That's a problem. But if it's just a little bit of liquid on a piece, that's not significant. As even though part of it is going to liquefy, given shadavar motu because it's a small amount. It's allowed. Aval, however, doesn't carefully. Aser lahachem kedera shekara sham nurisa. Afilu b'mokem she'ena yatsa that is boy. Aval sheyesh b'roitav harbe v'nimoya chashuman b'sech haroitav. Kal mokem hashuman hu tzaf l'mayla yeshna be'en. Now, we said you're allowed to liquefy ice or snow into a cup of water or other liquids, because that's not going to be noticeable. So what about liquefying the congealed fat that is on top of soup? You have chicken soup. You want to warm it up a little bit. Obviously, you can't warm it to yatsa lettuce boy because yesh bishal acher bishal balach. But you don't want to drink it cold. You want to warm it up to warm temperature, right? Now, you can't do that in a place that could ever bring it, even after a long time, to yatsa lettuce boy, because we said you may forget it there. But in a place that it could never become yatsa lettuce boy, you're allowed to warm it up. Okay, so now you want to warm it up, but it has some congealed fat on it. Like it happens, like in the refrigerator, the chicken fat congeals. But after you melt it, it's going to be part of the soup. So maybe it should be allowed like the hail in the cup of water, the ice in the water. No? Allowed or not allowed? Not allowed. What's the difference?
Because then you might do others. It's allowed.
1 second. You're allowed to put ice in a cup of water. The fact that the ice is melting is not important because it's never recognizably distinct. It becomes part of the water as soon as it melts. So why don't you say the same thing with the fat that's congealed on top of the chicken soup? It's going to melt into the soup. It's never going to be a separate entity.
It's considered important.
Even if it's important, but that's not distinct. It's not distinct.
The water cannot do any change to the flavor, but the fat can.
Well, I don't think that that's the point. Because I'll give you an example. Let's say you have grape juice ices. Some people make grape juice ices for their kids. Yeah? Shamatam Megazadavan? Now you did. Grape juice ice is a special treat. Let me ask you, are you allowed to take the grape juice ices and put it into a cup of water? It's going to change the flavor. It's going to become a different taste. Mutara asur. No, you don't recognize it. Because as soon as it melts, it becomes part of the water. When you put it in, it's recognizable. But when it melts, it becomes part of the water. And even though it's going to change the flavor, but you're never going to see a separate piece of grape juice. It's always going to be mixed in with the water. Understand? It's not yatsa lettuce, boy. It's not yatsa lettuce. If it's yatsa lettuce, you have another problem of bishul. I'm talking about warm, not hot. Why not? To liquefy something is a problem even if it's not yatsa. No. The issue of cooking is to get the yatsa lettuce. The issue of making a solid into a liquid, which is moiled, which is creating a liquid, is a problem even less than yatsa lettuce. Nothing to do with yatsa lettuce, boy. Like the ice. To crush ice and make water, it's not yatsa lettuce, boy, but it's awesome because you're creating the water. You understand? Same thing.
Look like this cooking.
No, it's less than yatsa lettuce, boy.
I don't know. I mean,
Test it. Test it. You made sure you did experiments, thermometers, everything. So, the reason is, no, Yosef, you're here. Let's hear, no? Very quiet on the computer today. No mic tonight. No, so type. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Something in different color when you dye the water.
I mean, even that, our Farkas says is okay, because even though it dyes the water, but it mixes in with the rest of the water. So it's never recognizable. I'm talking about the congealed fat of the chicken soup.
Right, maybe because it's like making fruit juice or something like that, like you said it before. The reason why we don't...
As far as the fruit juice, that's a good point. The fat floats, that's the answer. I'm going to get back to that in a second. But let me just answer what Daniel's saying. As far as the fruit juice is only usher if it is on its own. In other words, just like when something mixes in with an existing liquid, it's not moiled because it's not noticeable. When it comes to fruit juice, the same thing applies. If you have a vat of grapes and before Shabbos, there's already liquid, there's grape juice on the bottom of it, and then on Shabbos, the pressure, pushes the grapes down, and there's more, it's mutter. It becomes bottle, becomes nullified. Not that you're allowed to do it in the first place, but if it happens on its own, you're allowed to
Enjoy that.
You're allowed to drink it because it becomes nullified. So therefore, it's not going to be more strict than that case. Okay, so Mordechai has the answer. The answer is that fat floats. That's all. Very simple. The fat floats like when you get the good homemade chicken soup, you get all the globules of fat floating on your soup. So it is noticeable. It is distinct. It's not like separate, but it is distinct. You can see it. So that's why it's forbidden, all according to the Sefer Truma. Again, this is all according to the Sefer Truma. Remember, the other Rishonim say it's permissible. We're going to learn their opinion in a minute. But according to the Sefer Truma, that you're not allowed to do it even if you don't do it with your hands. Even if you cause it, you're not allowed. So the same thing here. You take the chicken soup out of the fridge, you put it in a place that's going to warm it, even though it's not yet let us buy, you're going to cause the fat to be liquid and distinct. You're going to see it floating on the top. All right. Moving right along to Chaf Zayin, 27. Aval yesh cholkim al kol zeh. Some argue on all of this. Now that you have it clear and you understand the issues, moiled, mashkan shezavu, the en, all of these things. Some people argue on all of it. When they say, there's no answer whatsoever in the fact that the fat liquefies. By putting it in a hot place. They only forbade it by pieces of hail, only to squeeze it with your hands. Sorry. If it melts on its own, they did not decree. And therefore, it is permissible to heat up this bread that was filled with shuman with fat, even in a place that is yad seletas boy. Even in a place that's yad seletas boy. Why are you allowed to heat it up if it's yad seletas boy? Not a rhetorical question. Why are you allowed to heat it up if it's not yad seletas boy? You're allowed to heat up a meat pie, according to this opinion, even if it's yad seletas boy.
Yeah, because it's not in the Easter. The Easter only had to do with the snow or the.
I have to turn up the volume because I'm not hearing you properly.
No, I said the Isser only had to do with the snow. It doesn't seem like the heating up the meat pie isn't contained in this Isser.
But what about Bishul?
Bishul Achar Bishul, I guess.
Bishul. Thank you very much. Exactly. Sharei Ein Kan Mishum Bishul. There is no Bishul. Loi bepas, not in the bread, right? The breaded part of the pie. Mipnei shein afiach afir. There's no afiach after afir. There's no baking after baking. Nor in the congealed fat that is going to liquefy. There's no cooking after cooking by a dry item. Now, this is not going to remain dry. This is going to liquefy. Al Rebbe said above that a solid that becomes a liquid is considered a solid. And therefore, ein bishul achar bishul applies. Truth be told.
What was that last point you said again? A solid that becomes a liquid is
treated
like
a solid. It's treated like a solid, and therefore the rules of ein bishul achar bishul apply. That is what the Alter Rebbe explained earlier in the Shulchan Aruch. However, the Alter Rebbe and the Siddur walked back that chiddush. And he said, no, we should be strict. And we should worry about the opinion in the Rishonim, which we said is the Mordechai, who says that if a solid becomes a liquid, it should be treated as a liquid. And therefore, yesh b'shal achar bishul. Excuse me. So according to that chiddush, this opinion will only allow it if it's not going to be yad seletas boy. He will only allow the moilid aspect of it, but not the bishul aspect of it. Because he'll hold that if it's yad seletas boy, it will be bishul because it's becoming a liquid, and as a liquid, yesh bishul bishul belach. All right? You should write to now, when it comes to a pot of soup with fat on the top of it, there you should not heat it up. You may not heat it up to yad seletas boy, according to all opinions. Because besides the issue of liquefying the fat, we have the issue of cooking the liquid soup. And that's for sure not allowed to bring it to yad seletas boy. So in the case of the soup, we would have to be talking about a case of ein yad seletas boy. So the first opinion would forbid it, the sefer truma, because the fact is you're liquefying the solid pieces of fat. But according to these opinions, the Ran and the Ramban, and the Rashba and Rashi and the Rambam, they all say it's no problem. Moilid is only if you squeeze it, not if you leave it in a place to liquefy on its own. Uleinian halacha, as far as halacha is concerned, nohagu lahachmer lechatchila kisvora harishayna. in the first place, one should be strict like the first opinion. Ashkenazim, by the way. Sephardim do not paskin like the first opinion. Sephardim paskin like the second opinion, like the majority of Rishonim. That's how Marana Beit Yosef, that's how the Machaber paskin, that you are allowed to liquefy solids as long as you don't do it biyadai. You can't squeeze the fat. You wouldn't want to do that anyway. But other than that, you're okay. However, Ashkenazim are strict because the Ramah is strict. However, b'diavad yesh lahakal kasvara acharoina. One can be lenient like the second opinion. And now listen carefully. Sorry to this Chiddush. Truth is, in a case of need, you can rely on that opinion, on the second opinion. Because that's the main halacha. This is something you should just know about. Whenever you can rely on an opinion in a case of need, guess what? That's the main halacha. Because this is just a general rule. Whenever we say you can rely on that opinion in a case of need, במקום צורך. במקום צורך אפשר להקל. במקום מצווה אפשר להקל. במקום הפסד מרובה, in a case of a financial loss. What do you mean? Hafsed merubah. The Torah says it's asur. It's asur. I mean, if we care about hafsed merubah, we're not going to Shabbat. I mean, so much money we lose. We don't work. Education, the kids, thousands of dollars to the Jewish schools. I mean, it's crazy. Kosher food. I mean, it's great. Hafsed merubah. It's a big loss. It doesn't work that way. You have to keep the mitzvahs, even if it's a big loss. So why all of a sudden are we going to rely on an opinion that's not the main halacha just to save a few dollars? What's going on? So this is a klal. I think the Shach says it in Yerodei. This is a klal. Whenever we say you can rely on an opinion in a case of a financial loss, that's the main halacha. The fact that we're strict when there's no financial loss is a chumrah. And it's nice to do a chumrah. But when it comes down to it, if it's a big financial loss, we'll go back to the main halacha. Here the Alter Rebbe spells it out. He says, we're going to be strict in the first place, but in a case of need, you could be lenient, kichein ikr, because that's the main halacha. So when you need to, you can fall back on it. All right? Something new you learned tonight. If you learn nothing else, at least you learn that.
Beside the Rambam, who said there is no bishul achar bishul?
Belach?
Belach.
What's wrong with the Rambam? The Rambam's not good enough?
No, I'm just saying. There is any other or there's a machloket.
There is a machloket, but who else? The Rashi says yesh. Rashi says yesh bishul achar bishul belach. Who agrees with the Rambam? I know the Rashba says something about it. I just don't know what he says. He either agrees with the Rambam or disagrees. One or the other. No.
No?
Cannot be.
Sure.
Absolutely. Chazon Ish says a lot of things, but he does not agree with the Rambam about Bishul and Bishul Balach, because nobody agrees with the Rambam in Din, besides the Yemenites. The Yemenites, yes, but Ashkenazim and Sephardim both do not pass like the Rambam. About this, I'm saying, about Bishul and Bishul Balach. That's why you can't heat up a liquid on Shabbat without.
Think about my schnitzel.
Schnitzel is yavesh. If something is mostly yavesh, so then some are lenient. Okay, that's something else. But if it's lach, if it's soup, nobody says. In din, in theory, you can discuss it, but in lemasa b'poal, nobody says you can't.
The warner that it's Definitely not yet so that at all. Low. You can put your hand basically. It is lowest one. And this is considered, be sure, if you just put it there. Like this one.
You want to get them in? You want to see if they want to come?
Yeah, it's still warm.
Or should we just wait for them to come out? We'll wait for them to come out.
Find out when they're gonna finish.
When they come out, we'll grab one of them. You just have to pay attention. So if you have a warmer and you set it to less than Yatza Letizba, are you allowed to warm it on Shabbos? Like a warming drawer? Is that like that?
It's like something that you just put and it's very low. You even basically, you put a part down, you leave it, it's not really make a big difference. It's at down.
My only thing that I'm worried about is Shema Yechata. You have to make a reminder that you shouldn't change the dial. You understand? Other than that, it's okay. It's not Mechzek B'Lasha because it's less than Yatza Letizba. It's not Bishul because it's less than Yatza Letizba. Only thing is, you may forget and change it. So you have to put something. You have to put a foil or something to cover to remind you, like a blech, something like that. But other than that, I think it's okay. Should be okay. Okay. The end of Chav Zayin, end of 27. V'chein yesh lahakel, Los is pas hamamulas b'shuman al tanu beis hachoyruf kodem she'usak כשעסיקנו אנוכי גם היא תסחמם עליו. Okay, now the Alter Rebbe is quoting the Magen Avram, who is telling us a nice little chiddush. We have machlokas about liquefying solids. Well, we said the main halacha is to be lenient, but the minhag is to be strict. Fine. The Magen Avram says, you know what? Let's say you put it in a place that right now is not going to liquefy it. But you know that this place is going to change and become warm later. For example, you want to put it on the Tanur Beis HaChoyref. You want to put it on the warming oven, the heating oven. They used to have an oven for heating the house, which the guy would come Shabbos morning and he would heat it up. And it was allowed because it was dangerous, it was very cold, everybody could get sick, they allowed it. So you're putting it on top of the heating oven before the guy heats it up. Where you put it right now, it's not going to become liquid if it stays the way it is. But you know that the guy's going to come and heat it up. So maybe it should be, it's like a timer. You wouldn't be allowed to do it for bishul, right? But here it's not bishul. Here it's only moiled, which some say you're allowed to do lechatchila. In other words, some would say you could put it there even if it's already hot, because they ain't bishul lacha bishul. And they say moiled is only forbidden to squeeze it with your hands. But if you put it there and it melts on its own, it's okay. So now that you're not putting it there when it's hot, you're putting it there before it's hot, and it's going to become hot later. So Magen Avram says that's okay, because that's like double indirect. Even when it's already hot, you're not actually melting it. You're just letting the heat melt it. Now it's not even hot yet. It's going to become hot later, so it's twice removed. Magen Avram says it's okay.
Even if the fruit is going to reach Yatza Letizba.
Ein bishul acha bishul.
Yeah.
Remember, this is already cooked, and
It's already cooked.
it's solid,
Use a timer.
and it's solid. You could use a timer. Yeah, for this you could use a timer. For this you could use a timer, but only because it's already cooked and it's a solid piece. Understand?
Is there any problem
taking it off once the element is heated up?
What?
You can take it off, can you put it back on?
Again, this is not an element where you cook, because if it's a place where you cook, you have a problem of chazara, right? We're talking on the top of a heating oven where you don't normally cook. See what I'm saying? So can you put it back? No, it's just it's for used for warming the house, not for cooking food.
Oh, okay.
Truth is, we said that some people would warm food there, and therefore it's better to put a piece of wood or something to remind you, like, so it shouldn't look like a normal place of cooking. You know what I'm saying? So according to that, you would have to do that. But as far as putting it back, yeah, because it's not a normal place to cook. As long as it's not a normal place to cook. Okay. Okay, לפי, because שאפילו לעניין עשר בישול, בדבר שיש בה משום בישולים בזה זמן התאר מדי בסגל. כי משמעסת שם קודם שייתן אנחנו יצר בתאר כמו שבסימן ראשון. If you would put something there that needs to be cooked, and you would put it there before the guy heats it up, would that be an issa d'oraisa or d'rabbanan? If you took something raw and you put it on the heating oven, knowing that the guy is going to heat it up later.
D'oraita.
No.
No?
No. It's d'rabbanan. It's gram bishul. You caused bishul. You didn't do bishul. You put it there, and the guy is the one who did it. You knew he was going to do it. Okay, but you didn't do it.
So if you tell Shabbat goy, turn the light. So it's also the Rabbanan.
Of course. Not the
Because
right.
the guys did that, not you.
Exactly.
But
The guy is a guy. He doesn't have to keep Shabbos. As far as you telling him, that's d'rabbanan. So, to tell a guy to turn a light on? No. No. I mean, there are some cases you could hint. Yesh מקומות שאפשר לרמוז לו. לא להגיד לו, לרמוז לו.
What's happened if in a synagogue that the guy is already here, you can come over on Shabbat and turn the light in the morning before everybody comes?
If it's part of his job, he can't do it. Because if it's part of his job, it's like you told him. But if you didn't tell him and he does it on its own, loan around, but only in the morning if you have enough light to see and it's just helping you. But if it's at night where it's mamash creating a light, that's a problem.
Also, if nobody there, he is coming by himself.
Again, you can't tell him, it can't be part of his job, but if he does it, but it's only for the daytime, not for the nighttime.
All right, for the daytime.
Because at night you're going to benefit from it. You're going to be able to see with what he did.
But then if you leave it on all day, so I'd like to have it. The heater's on in the morning.
It's an interesting point. It's an interesting point. Not sure about that. But honestly, it bothers me because why do shuls have to take such a significant heter? Why can't they just get a Shabbos clock and put it on the Shabbos clock? Why do you have to rely on these heterim, which are not really so clear?
Also for the AC is the same thing. Put the
Exactly, put on a Shabbos clock. That's it. It's much simpler without shailot. Anyway, in Cain, conscious matin legamri yesh lo kol koponim kodim she'usa kataner. The point is, since some people allow you to even put it on a hot stove top, on top of a hot oven, or not a stove top because that looks like cooking, but on top of a hot heating oven, which doesn't look like cooking, and it's already cooked, so there's no bishul, and it's only liquefying solids, which some allow. So over here, where you're not putting it when it's hot, you're putting it when it's cold, and you know it's going to become hot, which is only a derabanan, even if it was actual bishul, understand? And here it's not bishul, here it's only moiled, which some say is allowed. So it's like another reason to be lenient. If an Amaretz is watching, he's going to think that it's okay, that this whole thing about not liquefying a solid is a joke. Because he sees you putting it where you know it's going to become liquid. He'll think the whole thing is allowed. So you shouldn't do it in front of an Amaretz, and you should do it only through a goy. Tell the goy to put it there before the goy turns it on. That way you didn't do anything yourself. So it's another step removed.
If I take this one and I put it here, and I know the goy is going to make a fire next to it, I put that one.
Yeah.
So it's I did the sin.
You did a cinder abanan. You caused bishul, which is a cinder abanan.
Because there's no fire at that time.
Correct. Okay, Chaf Ches. Uledivrei HaKoil, according to all opinions, Mudalit and Shuman Muhuta Shanikra Shalgavi Mini Kmachim Likitnias. Roischim. You're allowed to put liquefied fat that became congealed on top of flour, kidneys and beans, roischim that are hot. So you have some, you have your cholent. You took your cholent off the fire, and you have some gravy in the fridge, and you want to give some good flavor to your cholent. You want to throw the gravy into the cholent. Machaya. Now, we have to clarify. According to the Alter Rebbe, this is not allowed if it's Yatzalet's way. Because since the gravy is going to become liquid, yesh bishalach or bishal balach. So you can make it Yatzalet's way. But according to those that hold ein bishalach or bishal, beyavesh shenasa lach. When a solid becomes liquid, so some say that it does not have the dinner with liquid, it has dinner with solid.
Like the meat with the sauce.
Like the gravy, exactly. That's how the Mishnah Berurah paskins. So, according to that opinion, you want to take the gravy and you want to throw it on the cholent. And it's going to basically get absorbed in the cholent. It's not a liquid cholent, it's a solid cholent. So you're going to mix it up. I mean, mixing is another issue. We're going to learn about it later. But you're going to mix it up in a permissible way, as we're going to see. And you're going to have some good flavor in your cholent.
It's okay?
Alter Rebbe says, mutter, it's allowed.
So,
You can't make it melt biyadayim. Put it on them or in them. And it's going to liquefy on its own. 1 second. Because what liquefies is not ben, it's not distinct. It rather melts into them. Go ahead.
so I have a tune and it's dry. And I have a meat in the refrigerator with the gravy. So I will take the gravy, can I put it in the chamin?
Not on the fire. Not on the fire.
Not in the fire.
Not on the fire, because that.
But I want the chamin not 2 hours, 3 hours.
What?
This chamin I want to leave it until noontime. After
So leave it.
synagogue,
Bakasha, leave it.
it will be ruined.
So
If I don't put water, you don't allow it.
Water is a separate issue.
Yes.
A hot
We talked
water.
about that.
Hot water from the urn is mutar for Ashkenazim.
From the
From the urn, from the
Yeah.
kettle.
yes. But now if you don't have hot water, and now Rabbi mentioned about the gravy. Only if you remove the chamin, you're allowed to put it in the plate. But what happens if I want to put it in the chamin another 3 hours? So I can take that gravy and
Not on the fire.
not in the fire.
No.
So if I remove it from the fire, Then I can put the gravy and leave it for 3 hours, and then
You can leave it, you can't put it back. Once you add, you can't put it back in the
It will
fire.
be cold for another 3 hours. So it's
Malasel,
waiting for that. Okay.
not for this.
Okay.
Okay. אבל אגב אצלי חם, יש להסתפק אם מותר ליטול עליו שומן קרש, שאין מויח מאליו. If you want to put gravy sherry on top of a hot roast, there's a suffix, if it's allowed to do it in such a way it's going to melt on it. Because what melts is not going to be absorbed in it, rather it's going to float on top of it. You can compare it to a pot, a soup that has some congealed fat in it. We are machma in the first place. So we need to say if it's gonna liquefy on top of the roast and you're gonna see the gravy sitting on top, that could be a problem. Just like the fat on the floating on top of the chicken soup. But if it's going to be absorbed into the cholent, into the whatever else you're heating up, then it is okay. Or not you're heating up. It is already hot, and you're putting it into that, and it's going to melt in it, that's okay. Because it's not be'en, it's not a distinct entity. Like we said many times, the whole issue of molded is only if you're creating something be'en, not if it's absorbed in something else. All right, my friends, now we have concluded the halachos of moilid and noilad on Shabbos as far as this is concerned. We'll learn more about it in Shin Chof Ches. Sure. And now we go back to the big Shulchan Aruch. Seif Yud Zayin. לא. הלכה ברורה זה רב עובדיה. אני לא חושב שיש לו את השולחן ערוך של מרן. על סדר השולחן ערוך. לא. אין לו את זה. ספר חשוב, אבל זה לא השולחן ערוך של המרן אגת יוסף.
של רבי דוד. דוד עובד. דוד יוסף.
אוקיי, יוד זין. אוסר ליתן צוינן על המחם, אפילו להפשר, כל שהמחם חד כל כך, שאילו היה מניח שם הרבה, היה בא לידי בישול. It's forbidden to put cold stuff on top of a kettle, even to warm it, as long as the kettle is hot enough that if you would leave it there, bishul would reach bishul. Which is the halacha of putting it on top of a kettle is like putting it opposite a fireplace. If it's not so hot, it's mutter. Again, we said opposite a fireplace, you cannot put something that is forbidden to heat up if you put it in a place that could get hot, even if you're planning to remove it before it gets hot. Because you may forget it there and it may heat up. So just like we said that about a fire, we're saying the same thing about a kettle. You want to heat up something on top of the kettle, but it's a thing that has the laws of bishul, either because it was never cooked, or if it was cooked, but it's a liquid. Can't do it, because if you would leave it there for a long time, it would become hot. Even if you're not planning to leave it there, you may forget. You can only put it on a place where it cannot become hot, no matter how long you leave it there. 29 of the Alter Rebbe, moving right along. Asalitin Tzainen al Mechem Afil Havsh, Kol Shemechem Chan Kol Kach Shiloya, Hatzainen Munach al Harbe Balare Bishop. And stay as letters, but Shemim Menech Lagab Mechem Kidim Menech Knegam Dura Menechem Kol Kach Mut. This is pretty much word for word from the Mechaber. No? Aser, Liden, Siman, Ala Mechem, Afilu Lahavshir, Koshan Mechem Kach, Cham Kol Kach, She'ilu Hoye Manicha Sham Harbe, Hoya Tsoinin Molachov. Okay, it's not exactly. I thought it was word for word. Almost, but not exactly. Okay. So, Alter Rebbe echoes the psak of the Machab. Okay, now we learn in Sif Yud Ches, coming near the end of the Siman, the light at the end of the tunnel. Here goes. Ha'ilfis v'hakdeira she'aviran murutachan me'al gabi ha'ur. If you took a pot or a pan off the fire while they're still hot, in loinis bashal kol tzarkoi, if it is not fully cooked, ein moitzin bekaf mehem, you are not allowed to spoon out from them. Shenimtza megis, because that is mixing v'ika mishum mevashal. That will be considered cooking. Here. One of the aspects of cooking is to stir. If you don't stir, you're in trouble. I mean, it depends. If you're the husband, you're in trouble. If you're the wife, you just burnt your food. That's life. So if you don't stir the food, you're going to burn it, right? The bottom is going to cook too fast, and the top is not going to cook at all. You with me? So one of the essential aspects of cooking is to stir. A person who stirs food on the fire while he's cooking it, I mean, he put it on the fire before Shabbos, but it's not fully cooked. He stirs it on the fire. He is over on bishul midoi raisa, Torah level, because stirring is part of cooking. If he stirs it once, it's like that. If he stirs it twice, it's like that. If he stirs it three, every time he stirs it, before it's fully cooked, he's helping it cook faster.
Okay.
Yeah?
If you take the pot and you mix it like that, it's also
Same thing. Same thing. So, I mean, the truth is, if you remember, we said way back at the beginning of the Siman that some say it's only bishul until Ma'achal ben Russo. Once it's edible for the bandits, it's already named bishul achar bishul, and you can reheat it. But that's not the main halacha. So therefore, until it's fully cooked, stirring it is a Torah level prohibition. Here's a chiddush.
So if you pass Ma'achal ben Russo?
Even if you pass Ma'achal ben Russo, we said according to the Rambam, it's still the Araisa to cook until it's completely cooked. Even if you take it off the fire, you're not allowed to stir it. Because if it's not fully cooked, even off the fire, it continues to cook from its own heat. Right? Like I told you, the recipe that I got for making hard-boiled eggs, just right. So you can peel them without the peel destroying half the egg. You take it, you bring it to the boil on the fire. You take it off the fire the minute it boils. You leave it in the water for 15 minutes, and then you pour the water out. You don't need any cold water. Pour the water out after 15 minutes, and you're good. What's happening during those 15 minutes? The eggs are definitely cooking. They're off the fire, but the heat of the water is cooking them. So the same thing, anything you take off the fire, if it's not fully cooked, the heat of the pot itself is continuing to cook. So if you stir it, that is a Torah level prohibition. Like the very unfortunate case that I've shared with you in the past of the two yeshiva bachrim who never learned Hilchos Shabbos, even though they learned so many other things, I'm sure. They never learned Hilchos Shabbos, and they were making a Shabbaton, and their cholent pot was not going to be ready, they realized. So throughout the night, they got up, they took it off the fire, they stirred it, they put it back. many times.
It's the writer.
Major deraisa.
At least they do the makshava to put it back, you know. Just kidding.
What happened is just by accident.
It's no accident.
By
It's not an
accident.
accident.
No, it wasn't
By
accident. They
accident.
didn't know. They didn't know. They didn't know.
I didn't know.
They didn't know. It's a
It
shoygig.
was supposed to be,
It's a shoygig. They bring a chatas. Mashiach comes to bring the chatas.
they know now.
They know now. I'm sure they did tshuva. I'm sure they never did it again. Let's just see if we have a minion here.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
what happens is still by accident? The person still.
It's an affair by accident.
Okay, fine.
He went over there.
He went there.
So that is not allowed in until after Shabbos or
B'shoye, you can't eat after that. That's correct. It's an Issur D'Oraisa. Issur D'Oraisa, even by accident, you can't eat it till after Shabbos.
the person that did.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody. Can't eat till after
When did
Shabbos.
they find out about that?
The next day.
I mean, were people already eating it?
No, the people, there was eaten, it was done. They came Shabbos afternoon after their Shabbaton. They came to tell the story to where I was eating. So proud of themselves. Anyway, the point is,
Can we do a tshuva before Mashiach is coming?
of course, now's the time.
That's it.
Oh, you mean can they get out of the chatas if they do tshuva before? I don't think so. Because it says in the Gemara, Rabbi Shmuel, it says that Rabbi Shmuel once was reading on Friday night and he forgot that he adjusted the candle and he wrote in his notebook, when Mashiach comes, I'm going to bring a fat chatas. So we see that even tshuva, it doesn't help. Chatas is a chatas. So, I mean, it helps for now, but not
Rabbi,
for them.
we have a sefer when we study, when we pray every morning, chatat, and this is like we bring. Yes, sir.
Amen, amen.
Baruch Hashem.
We have 6 of them.
Yeah, but it's good enough for now. But for when Mashiach comes, it's not good enough. V'im this bashal called tzorkoi mutter. If it is fully cooked, it is permissible. Oh, but I forgot to say, not only can you not stir it if it's not fully cooked, even off the fire, you can't even spoon out of it. So spooning out of it is like stirring it. One, we just need one.
It's okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Okay, Rabbi said we're going to break for Meyer. We'll pick up in 10, 15 minutes.
Maybe we should do that next year.
אדוני השם מלך ימינו ויפקרנו, אדוני השם מלך ימינו ויפקרנו, ויתקדש ונרבה. כי הם חיינו ואורם ונהגים ובנבחנו תעשו ממנו לא תתבררו אתה אדוני מה יעשה ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיכם באמונה עבודנו ואלוהינו כן כן, בעלינו תעשה תעשה שנתן שמור צדנו בורנו את החיים, ושלום אתה לנו, כי שומרנו מוציא לנו ברוך אתה אדוני שומר את עמו ישראל, יתגדל וקדש ולרבה. זה יכול ויכול וטלפון. יש נסיב דלק את השמיד, שם ירקו, אלא מכל ויתתה בשביל זה נקרא.
Thank you. As long as
But if the food is already cooked, are you allowed to steer?
I want to see it right now. Let's see it right now. Okay. Continue for a few more minutes. So far, from reading the Machaber, it seems that you're allowed to stir if it's fully cooked off the fire. Off the fire. Again, because the Machaber says if you took it off the fire and it's not fully cooked, you can't take out with a spoon. But if it's fully cooked, mutter, it's allowed. He doesn't say exactly what's allowed, but the Mefarshim say, based on the Beis Yosef, it's allowed not just to take out with a spoon, but even to stir it off the fire.
So in a crock pot, on a warm position, is allowed to stir.
That's no. Warm is still on the fire.
Still on fire.
Yeah. Off the fire means you take it
So
off,
the plata,
put it down. No, plata is also the fire. Off the fire means you take it off the plata, you put it on the counter. That's off the fire. Fire, I don't mean something that jumps, you know what I mean, up and down. Fire, I mean the heat source, the place where it cooks. You understand? Take it off of that. That's when, from the Machaber, it seems that you're allowed. The Ramah is going to say something else. But from the Machaber, if it's off the fire, and it's sorry, fully cooked off the fire, you can stir it. That's what we see in the Machaber. I mean, not clearly, but it's implied. Aval tzemer leyoyre, but wool in a pot. So to dye wool, you make a vat of dye, and you put the wool in the dye, and you have to stir it, and stir it, and stir it. Even after the wool absorbs the dye, you have to keep on stirring it, otherwise it burns. That's just the way it is. So there, asa lahagis by. There, you're not allowed to stir it even after it absorbed it, even off the fire. Because when it comes to dyeing, you have to keep on stirring it. So until it's cold, you have to keep on stirring it. So therefore, it's considered part of the malacha of dyeing. Yeah.
If it's fully cooked, let's say it's a crock pot,
Yep.
and the children is there, you all have to take from there, fully cooked completely. You can take with a spoon, like a big spoon, and to put it right to the plate, or you have to remove that from the crock pot, and that's it.
So in the Machaber, he didn't say clearly. He only discussed off the fire, not fully cooked, and off the fire, fully cooked. He didn't discuss on the fire. He didn't discuss on the fire. So the Rishonim say that even if it's fully cooked, on the fire, you should not stir it.
Not stir it, just
No, I'm just explaining. One thing at a time. Should not stir it. Why not? Because it's mechzek in the It looks like you're cooking. Somebody sees you stirring. Why do you stir something? Because it's not fully cooked. If it's fully cooked, you're done. What are you stirring? You're wasting your time. So somebody watching thinks if you're stirring, it's not fully cooked. Stirring food on the fire, not fully cooked, wow. It looks like cooking. Another possibility is that if you stir it when it's fully cooked on the fire, that could lead to stirring when it's not fully cooked. It's a gzeira, decree. Shema. So that's clear in, I think it's the Kolmoi who says it. Now, what about your question? Taking from the pot that's on the fire with a spoon, but not actually stirring it. Serving the cholent when it's on the fire, but not actually stirring it. So that is actually a machlokes. Some say it's also not allowed because if it would not be fully cooked, that would be forbidden. So it's included in the gzeira that it looks like cooking. Because, excuse me, not that it looks like cooking, it doesn't look like cooking. Taking out with a spoon doesn't look like cooking. But it's included in the gzeira that if it were not fully cooked, if you do it now when it's fully cooked, maybe you'll do it next time when it's not fully cooked. And if it's not fully cooked, that is asar mida eraisa. Understand? Because the fact is, when you take it, it moves it around. Others say, no, that it's allowed because now it's fully cooked. And it doesn't look like cooking because taking food out is not how you cook. So from the Alter Rebbe, we see that it's a chumrah to not do it. It's a chumrah. It's not a din. It's a chumrah. That's what we see in the Alter Rebbe. But it seems like it's not an isser, like not an actual isser, just a chumrah. And therefore, if it's a situation of need, yesh lahatir. Meaning it's not lachatchila. Lachatchila, you take it off the fire before you serve. But let's say it's a very heavy pot. Can't take it off the fire. Because if you take it off, you're not going to be able to put it back. It's too heavy to hold. You have guests coming in 2 hours. You need it hot. But you also have guests now. You need to serve it now. You're stuck. So b'shas ha-tzoyrech, afshal lahatir.
If you serve about the halacha, what's the point of it?
Because yesh machmirin.
If
What's the point? If you're sure what the halacha is, why do you mahmir?
There's no Sanhedrin now. When there was a Sanhedrin, when the Sanhedrin paskin, that's it. The majority ruled. En kazeh davar. If a person argues with the majority of the Sanhedrin, like we said in last week's Parsha, skila, kol ha'am yishma'u v'yira'u v'lo yizidim od. Nowadays we don't have a Sanhedrin. So even if we have a psak, but it's not like the other opinions are 100% wrong, so it's something to be choshesh. It's chashash. It's not, in other words, to be machmir, there has to be a reason to be machmir. If you're machmir without a reason, it's stam shtriot. It's a waste of energy. But if there's an opinion that is an important opinion, the Rishonim, whatever, even if it's not the min halacha, yesh makom lachmir. Yeah.
So if you take a pot and you're thinking you're going to bring it back, you're just going to put like half of the amount on the table, to take, and to bring it back. You were thinking you bring it right back to the pot before it's going to get cold.
Lama lo?
Okay?
Yeah, why not?
No, but you keep the.
It's on the fire.
What?
You keep the law of God.
Yeah, you kept it in your hands. You have to keep it in your hands.
Keep it,
Yeah.
and you're thinking, and it's fully cold.
Still hot.
So I can
Yeah. That's okay. Okay. Asalag is bopish lamneres v'kaf. Hago, here's the Ramah's chumrah. Ulechatchila yesh lizor af b'gdeira b'chol enyan. Lechatchila, you should be machmir, also in a kdeira b'chol inyan. No matter how. if you read the Ramah in the simple sense, it sounds like the Ramah is saying that just like when it comes to a dying sovea, you can't stir it even after it's absorbed. So too, and even if it's off the fire, so too you cannot stir anything in a kli rishon, even fully cooked off the fire. And b'chol inyan maybe means you can't even serve from a kli rishon that is fully cooked off the fire. That would make big trouble. You want to serve the chalent, kli rishon, off the fire, v'ushal kol tzorko, maybe not. Yesh lachmir b'chol inyan, you have to be strict no matter what. So the later Achronim say, we are not strict like this Ramah, b'chol inyan. We are only strict, perhaps, Alter Rebbe says, harotzeh lahachmir, person who wants to be machmir, should be machmir only to actually stir it. And this is only according to the Ramah, not according to the Machaber. According to the Machaber, if it's fully cooked and off the fire, you're allowed to stir it. Even lechatchila, you have the chalent, you have the beans, the potatoes, the meat. Some is burnt, some is not. You want to stir it up. Off the fire, fully cooked. Machaber says no problem. The Ramah says yesh lahachmir. So the Ashkenazim, it's a good thing to be machmir, but only to stir. Lo lahotzi b'kaf. When it comes to taking with a spoon and lachmir, if it's off the fire and fully cooked, en makom lachmir. Now, let me just go back to the question of if it is off the fire and not fully cooked, then the Machaber said you cannot stir it, you can't even dish it out with a ladle, because that's going to help it cook. What do? When you're hungry, pour it out, exactly. Pour it out into a kli sheni, and then you can serve it from the kli sheni. Because kli sheni is already not mevashel. So, no, not fully cooked. If it's fully cooked, you can serve from the kli rishon with a spoon. If it's not fully cooked for some reason.
So why do you want to eat something that it's not fully cooked?
Because you made a mistake. You took it off the fire by mistake. If you had realized, you would have left it there, but now it's too late. Once it's off, you can't put it back. At least you may as well enjoy it.
You're not supposed to bring it to Shabbat before if it's half cooked, no? Like the Matal Ben Parsai.
It depends. If you have a blech, you don't really need to. But it's better. We said it's better to cook it before. But meikar din, it's mutter.
Most of the time, we cook it at least 1 hour. And then we...
It's better. But meikar din, if you have a blech, it's okay. But for example, even the machmirim, if you put a raw piece of meat in right before Shabbat, it's okay.
Yeah.
You said that. So, could be it's not cooked yet. Not fully cooked yet. Obviously, it's already half cooked, otherwise you couldn't eat it yourself, but it's not fully cooked. Now, just 2 more points. When it comes to a solid piece where you don't have to stir it to take out the piece, you can just stab the potato and take it out. So our Farker says you could do that even on the fire. Understand? If you have to ladle it, you can't. But if you could just stab the piece and take it out and you're not going to make anything else fall, that's okay.
You can take that egg.
Yeah. Anything that's not like mixed in, that's just separate. Another point, yeah, whatever, anything that's not going to make other things fall. As long as the other eggs don't. No,
Just take that.
just take the egg.
Good enough.
Another chiddush he says is If it's water and it's fully cooked, meaning to say it's already boiled, you can use a ladle even on the fire. Because the whole thing of mixing looking like cooking doesn't really apply to water. Because there's nothing to mix. It's just water. Before it's fully cooked, maybe it looks because you want to spread the heat. But it's already cooked. So it doesn't look like cooking. When it comes to soup, there's the spices, there's the chicken, there's the vegetables. So there is an issue. But if it's just water, he says you can use a ladle. Yes. On the fire? I don't know. Hot water? Before they came up with the invention called the urn. Just an example. Okay, my friends, we'll stop here and continue next week in Mitzvah Hashem. My pleasure. In a crock pot. Yosef wants to know. What do you mean in a crock pot? I don't understand your question. Crock pot is like on the fire. Is that what you're asking? Yeah, crock pot is the fire. Fire doesn't have to be a jumping flame. It could be any heat source.